Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbell. With me, as always, is Robert Hagan. Robert, what's going on, sir?
It is a great night. We're here. We got here a little early, able to chat a little bit about your favorite subject, college bowl season.
Don't start with that already, please.
It's fun. A little bit of college bowl season to start things off. We got your favorite sport happening right now. Oh, wait, you haven't watched any games yet. So World Series happening tonight.
That's still going.
Yeah.
Why am I not hearing anything
today? Might be finishing off tonight. We'll see. We'll see how that pans out here in a little bit.
Do you have a rooting interest in that at all?
You know, I grew up watching the Braves, so I'm watching them. I hope they do good. So cross our fingers that they come away with a championship, because it's been a while since, 95. We've talked about 95 over the last couple of weeks, and
right.
We'll talk a little bit about 1995 a little bit later in the show, but in a different realm. So
okay, that's what we call a confusing teaser.
It is
in the business that we pretend to be a part of. So we say this so many different weeks. We've used these words. We have a jam-packed show. We have a jam-packed show.
Oh, dude, it's been crazy.
So we're hitting that crossover between the fall seasons and the winter season. So we're ending volleyball seasons and cross country. Mm-hmm. Golf has already hit their break, but basketball has just got it going as far as college goes. High school, we have all the football tournaments either have already started in Idaho or about to start in Washington. We'll start to talk about how another Valley team has to do a weird playoff system, and I'm curious which one you like more. Yeah. Football is middle of the season-ish. It's so weird now that they play 17 games instead of 16 games as far as what the middle of the season is. But I guess technically now that there's 18 weeks, we can say after week 9, it's the actual middle of the season. So after this week, I guess technically it's the mid-season mark. And while the trade deadline definitely disappointed, the injury front on Sunday disappointed in a whole different route. We had our first college football playoff rankings that are slightly controversial.
Garbage.
Just saying. Garbage. We will get into those. Obviously, we'll get into it. I won't give my take yet. I'm very, very excited. At the top of next hour, we're going to have LCSC volleyball coach Shaun Pohlman on the show. I've talked to him a couple times in post games after some volleyball matches. Mm-hmm. Fantastic interview. We've talked about it. You've talked to him a couple times about coming on this show, and he's been excited to do it. Senior week coming up on Saturday, where Robert gets to read 2.5 pages of dialogue before the match.
I'm curious because Alicia still hasn't sent me anything yet, so I'm wondering how many pages for each player. Because I looked, I think there's only like 6 players that I got to read. But it's nothing like what I had to read. I mean, it'll be longer. I think I'm almost positive it'll be longer. But I had on Friday night with the Bantams, cheerleaders and football team, I was at 25 just for them, and then I had 10 to read in between first and second quarter. So I mean, I had 35 seniors to deal with at the high school level. That's just crazy thinking. But I think there's only like 6.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting. But unless you go to a Soton and they only have 1 or 2 seniors, and so it's kind of nice to get through all those. But
we're very, very excited to be able to talk to Shaun in the next hour.
I want to know how many of the girls will be listening and then making fun of him.
Nobody listens to this show.
Nobody?
Nobody.
I think a couple.
0 people listen to the show. We have a very interesting sports-related draft. I wanted to be topical with something that happened last week. It's going to create controversy. And Robert loves to bend the rules. I don't know what to say. And we have the championship race in NASCAR on Sunday. We will see if we can get Robert's prediction. And, of course, he will try to trick me as far as the trivia and everything there. But right now, as you said, the Braves and the Astros are going at it in Game 6. Atlanta just took a 3-0 lead in the top of the third. Also going on right now, you have MAC football. I love MAC football at the end of the season because you get Tuesday football. Right now, Ohio beating Miami of Ohio 14-0 at halftime, and Toledo beating Eastern Michigan 21-17. And then the big one, as far as local area sports goes, it's the season opener for LCSC women's basketball. The men have already gotten their actual season going last week, and then they had that exhibition the week before. But right now, taking on Whitman. They just hit halftime. Whitman currently leading LC 43-40, but we will keep you up to date throughout the night. And again, it's a big, big week as far as LCSC athletics.
Yeah, I mean, 100%, especially with things going on, senior night and all these other sports starting to cross over. I mean, that's when you really stay involved with everything. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right, let's get right into it with our Week 8 thoughts in the NFL. And, of course, we started with Homer headlines. And, Robert, I expect you not to go 5 minutes with your headlines.
No, I mean, we were on a bye week, but, it's nice to be on a bye week, and you move back into the first place in the AFC North.
You're welcome.
Yes, to your New York Jets. I have to tip my hat in one fashion, but on the other, I'm not very happy with that because of my other thing going on.
There's nothing we can do about your terrible loser picks.
Yeah. All right. I move on.
All right. My Homer headline: there is no quarterback controversy in New York. I love my friends. You guys, I have a good group of people that surround me and push me and motivate me and are there for me. I do not deny that. I don't need new friends. However, Sunday afternoon, I felt like getting a whole new group of friends because not one person went, "Hey, congratulations on your Jets." All I got was, "Oh my God, quarterback controversy. Oh no, is Zach Wilson in trouble? Oh, this Mike White guy looks good." Did any of you watch the game, or did you just see 405 yards?
I that's all I saw because I normally go down and plug here for rookies. I go down and watch all the games, and then they throw them all up, but wasn't able to go down and do that. And so, I was only watching what was on CBS local, and they didn't have a game until the afternoon. And so I was stuck with the morning game on Fox.
So I will say this, Mike White looked good as far as a rookie quarterback that was not drafted in the first round goes.
Right.
37-45, 405 yards. It looks fantastic. 3 touchdowns. He does throw the 2 interceptions, though I will give him credit. I don't think either of them were really his fault. The second one, kind of, because the pressure got to him. He went, "I'm going to dump it off to my running back, who is not even ready to make his break yet." Bounced it off the side of his helmet, and then it was intercepted. So technically, I would give that one to Mike White. The other one was off the hands of the receiver and then intercepted. However, what I saw as a Jets fan was this. This is the strategy they need to use when Zach Wilson comes back. A lot of dump offs, a lot of using the running backs in the passing game, quick passes, easy passes, just kind of slowly work that field. Mike White's average yards per pass attempt was like 3.7 yards. He did not throw the ball farther than 15 yards in a completion. It was smart. It was simple. It was get the quick passes and then let your receivers or running backs make the plays and go down the field. Like that touchdown that he threw, who is it? It was Ty Johnson's touchdown late in the game. A little dump off pass, and then Ty Johnson made a couple people miss, tightrope the end zone and scored. That's what the Jets need to do. But the people going, "Oh, Mike White's so good." No, it's just I like the changes as far as game plan went. I like that they moved LaFleur up to the booth so he can get a better look at the field maybe and kind of change the way he was calling the plays. That's what I like. And this is what we want to see. Now, hopefully it'll continue with Zach Wilson, but Mike White is not the future quarterback of the New York Jets.
No, I don't think so either. But I think half of the things Half the things I'm seeing is that the NFL is starting to change their game where it looks more college-like, and I like the way they look because they're trying to get those quick, making the passing game look like a run game with the quick receiver screen to the outside. You know, how many times did we watch Hardman and Hill last night in last night's game have the touch pass end around? You know, so that's technically a pass because it's going forward from Mahomes, but that's the change that they're trying to make. They're trying to get those 3 and 4 yards. That's all they're trying to get is 3 and 4 yards. That's the exact same thing we preach, and Parker can say this, and you can even ask when Haven's on here too. It's the same idea that we preach. You know, if we can get 4 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards every time, heck yeah, I'm going to take it third down and short all the time.
And that's just where they catch it. Then the running back or the wide receiver can break a tackle, make a move, and get extra yardage, especially a running back who usually is trying to run through 3 men that are twice his size. Now you get him one-on-one with somebody the same size as him.
Right.
There's a better chance of him, breaking it and getting you an extra 10, 15 yards. So that's what I love to see what the Jets are doing. Obviously, we're still not going to get Zach Wilson on Thursday. It's a short week, and it's going to take a couple weeks for that knee to heal. So, I mean, obviously, we're still going to have Mike White on Thursday. That's already been announced. But it's the only thing that is proven is Joe Flacco is only there as a mentorship, which I'm still okay with because you need a mentorship for a young quarterback. So I'm totally fine with that. But this is, I think, what switching to another game, that's what we're seeing with New England right now. Is it took them a few weeks to kind of figure things out. And I put in our power rankings that went up earlier today that I'm still not sure if I'm sold that the Patriots are a legit playoff contender just yet, because Sunday's game against the Chargers was their first win against a legit team. They beat the Texans and they beat the Jets twice. But it's been the same thing the last few weeks of short passing game, use the running game, and keep things simple. Like, don't allow the quarterback to overthink things and then cause mistakes, because it takes a couple of years for these quarterbacks to figure out the defensive systems. You're saying that the NFL game is changing a lot to the college system, and that's true offensively. But defenses are so much more complex in the NFL. It's so much faster in the NFL. Those passes, you can go 25 yards down the field and beat the safety. It's not going to be there because that safety is 3 steps faster. So keeping things close to the vest, nice, easy dump off passes, quick passes. I think that is the future for young quarterbacks. And it's difficult because these quarterbacks all got drafted early because of their flashy plays. That's all we saw Zach Wilson, were all these crazy flashy plays at BYU. And then you have to be able to dial that back and keep that in your back pocket. But not everyone's going to be Mahomes that can go crazy play after crazy play. And even Mahomes this year has been pretty bad with those crazy plays.
Well, last night I don't think is a good example, because you look at what happened with the coaching staff for the Giants. I'm sorry, you can't run, and I know you're afraid of Patrick Mahomes, but you cannot run. Patrick Graham cannot throw a 2-deep safety every time. And look at the 2-deep safety on most of those plays in that game last night. They were 15 yards deep.
Yeah.
Every time. You're not going to win a game in the NFL if that's how you're going to throw your defense out there. And that's the thing. You are 100% right. The defenses are so much different between college and the NFL. But it's how the NFL is starting to adapt these coaches on the offensive side to their players. What can they do to keep those players moving and growing? And you said that 100%, and 100% right, is shrink the playbook small enough that they can get small passes. And that's what's happening with Mac Jones. They're slowly starting to make that playbook a little bit bigger. And you notice those plays are starting to get a little bit more challenging, which is fine. Trust me, I don't want to walk into Sean Payton's. And that's one that scares me the most is for Simeon. What is he going to do now that Winston's hurt? Now he takes over.
I don't think it's going to be Simeon, but
Well, right now it's still Simeon. We still don't know about Hill, if Hill's going to come back. But you look at that play calling and just the play calling that he does. If you've ever watched it, you can YouTube and just the way he talks, and he's breaking down what is line coverage, what is the formation, what is the play. It's like 3 sentences. I mean, keep it short and sweet for these newer guys. Now, I mean, you see the same thing with Lamar. They're starting to spread things out a little bit, but you even look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady's still got a sleeve on his arm, still got the plays. How many times he pulled out the small play sheet out of the inside of it? The extra one. And I mean, the designs of plays have come so far, and so these coaches have to make sure that these players understand all of them. And you even say, like they were saying, dig route and stuff. That's not what we call dig routes at the middle school or the junior high. And so how do you keep explaining these? Is this the same as this one? And it's repetitive learning.
I want to go back to something you were talking about the Giants. And obviously I'm not a coach.
Right.
So obviously you coach at the middle school level, so you have more expertise in this level. But I will disagree with you on one aspect about you can't just do double safeties every time. I think you can, and you have to against a team like Kansas City. And I think teams, and I have to go back and watch the other games of where Kansas City is really struggling, but I think that's the defense you have to play against Kansas City is the 2 deep safety, because you have to keep Hill and Hardman in front of you, because that's always the issue. It's Hill and Hardman will go deep, and you have to then guard them, but then you're going to leave Kelsey in the middle of the field. So now you go to 2 deep safety. Now you're going to have the extra help deep with the safeties. The cornerbacks can play underneath of those 2 and kind of watch for Kelsey and the running back to come out of the backfield. And then you kind of bottle things up for Mahomes, and you're not going to get those wide open plays. Mahomes obviously does a fantastic job of extending plays, and then you're going to have to be able to keep up with these guys. But I think obviously it wasn't the defense's fault that they lost that game. You got to score more than 17 points if you're going to get Kansas City. 100%. But I get your point, and usually that's the case where you can't just run the same defense every time. But I think until Kansas City goes, okay, fine, we're just going to do dump offs and do those quick passes to Hill and to Hardman, and work that style of offense, because that's what you're going to give with a 2 deep safety. It's going to work, because Mahomes still loves to throw that 40-yard pass, even if it's double covered, because you think he's able to get it. So that's the only time I disagree with.
No, and I think you're right. Yeah, but you look at how they set up their defense last night. I don't think I saw one time more than 7 guys in the box at any time.
Well, because Kansas City doesn't run.
But they've got to get some. And New York's got to get a little help on the line, and it gets the pressure. There was only a few times he got some pressure, but for me, yes, you have to defend against Hill and Hardman. Both of those guys are quick guys and extremely fast. But for those guys to be so far off and was just a little challenging. But on the other hand, you look at it, Travis Kelce did not look good last night. He was dropping passes, they didn't target him a lot. Yeah, and so, I think they felt that they could go a little bit deeper on their coverage, but it seemed really different to keep that far off on their coverage all night. So,
on a side note, as far as the NFL goes, trade deadline was today. If you didn't realize the trade deadline was today, we don't blame you, because I don't think the NFL teams realized that the trade deadline was today. I heard more news of this person will not be traded.
I did too.
And people that got traded. Obviously, some of the bigger ones happened early on, a couple weeks ago and stuff. And obviously, the Von Miller trade that happened yesterday was a very big one to the Rams. It was the 2nd and 3rd round pick for Von Miller. We'll talk more about the Rams strategy and if you agree with that. But just other than that, the trade deadline was there. This was more of a typical NFL trade deadline, I think, than normal. Last year was an outlier, and we had a lot of movement. And this year was more of a we'll keep our players.
The one that really stood out to me, Melvin Ingram leaves Pittsburgh and goes to Kansas City, but I think was more for your team. I was shocked to see that the Jets gave up, Dan Brown. That's going to be another
they
tight
gave up a tight end I've never heard of.
Yeah, and where is he going to sit? Behind Kelsey there in Kansas City.
So,
but you gain a decent guard.
Yeah, the Jets had to do that because their injuries right now. The offensive line of the Jets has been a struggle. It was a completely revamped offensive line this year, and now they're running into injury issues. So this was a necessary.
I agree on your side, but why?
For Kansas City, talking to Robert Taylor, who is my go-to Chiefs fan for this, he said he's pretty sure this is just a salary dump for KC.
You think so?
To try to keep the core around. So it's a player that hasn't really been playing. He didn't play last year because he took the COVID waiver and hasn't been playing much this year as well. So this was an expendable piece for KC that does take some money off the books. It helps the Jets, who have a little bit of extra salary cash, to help shore up an injury or offensive line that's been a little weak and very, very injured. So I think it makes sense. I don't think Dan Brown's going to be a name in Kansas City by any means. I think he has like 6 career catches. And then the injuries are just insane. What's worse than doing a fake field goal that doesn't get converted, Robert? How about a fake field goal that doesn't get converted and injures your kicker?
Yeah.
Early on in the game. Somehow Pittsburgh still wins that game. But they signed Josh Lambo. The big one, of course, Derrick Henry could be out for the remainder of the season. They are still mum as far as how long that is.
Hurts my fantasy league. I have
a lot of fantasy teams got hurt by that for sure. It would be great to see him come back in the playoffs, and it would not surprise me if Henry does. But does this take off that invincibility of Henry? That was always the thing. It's like nobody can carry the ball this much except for Derrick Henry because he never gets hurt. Well, now he's hurt. What do you think?
Well, I think if we knew exactly what the foot injury was, I mean, they have been very mum about what's going on, and so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out down there. I mean, you get McNichols is the backup. Then
Adrian Peterson.
They signed Adrian Peterson to the practice squad. They
brought him up.
They ended up bringing.
They brought him up once they put Henry on the IR. I believe that was the move.
Yeah, I had seen, but I don't know because he's that guy. Then I've even talked in the power rankings. He's that guy that fourth quarter, man, hand the ball to him and keep going because he's just going to pound it. So who do you do? I mean, AJ Brown's become the main target now.
If Julio Jones is back healthy, that'll be another. I think they're going to throw the ball more and just kind of have to play a different style offense. And it's if Tannehill can handle that. I liked Vrabel. I think it was Vrabel that I heard today talking about Derrick Henry and when he would be back. And I think it was Vrabel, but I could be wrong. Basically going, the doctors could come to me tomorrow with a timeline, and I still won't believe it because it's Derrick Henry. Like they're like they could say he's out for the entire year, and he's like, yeah, we won't call him out for the rest of the year.
So listen, let's look at their schedule.
What is with you with schedules,
because it's just a strength of schedule. You look at this. I think they have one of the weaker schedules. They've got the Rams this week, which is the biggest one there. Yeah. Then they've got New Orleans, Houston, New England bye week, and then they pick up Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, Miami, Houston. You get on the backside of that bye week, they could just coast, So if they can survive
in the division,
right? So if you can survive against LA and against New Orleans, I think they coast in and they don't bring Derrick back until postseason.
Yeah, if he's ready to go, we'll see him in the postseason. I'm with you there. Jameis Winston, unfortunately, out for the year, torn ACL. He wasn't having a fantastic year with New Orleans, but he was good enough for that team, which I will fully admit that I was completely wrong on. I thought they were going to take a big step back this year, not because of Winston, but because of all the moving pieces that they had to do just to get back under the salary cap. That team has definitely worked out, so it'll be interesting. You've already said Simeon, possibly the starter. We will see if Hill comes back from his injury in time to play this week. It'll be something to look forward to. And then the big news that happened I guess we bring up your Raven getting shot in the leg.
I did.
On Sunday.
He was in Cleveland for some gathering and gets shot by a stray bullet, and that is Malik Harrison, the linebacker, and he plays probably about a third of the time, but they're not disclosing again.
So this wasn't a Plaxico Burress situation.
No, not a Plaxico.
He shot himself.
Just a stray bullet, they said. Well, where are you at to get a stray bullet? I mean,
apparently.
I don't know where in Cleveland. Is OBJ upset? Maybe it was him.
Well, he didn't get traded. So
not yet, but how about Dad coming out and tweeting today that Mayfield needs to throw him the ball more and shows the video of him.
Shows issues. Just so much noise. It's just...
You want to know who this reminds me of? Is the whole LaMelo Ball thing. I mean, all right, let's get Mom and Dad involved, and here you go.
No one's gonna hit the level of Ball.
No, probably not. But
I hope not.
Same thing.
The Ball is the extreme of all that. And then the big news that happened this morning, and it's just bad, sad news. But Henry Ruggs. There's a name in there somewhere. One of them is correct. Henry Ruggs was involved in a fire wreck in Las Vegas. Charged with a DUI resulting in a death, which is just it's such sad news. It was like 3-something in the morning. On top of all of that, obviously Ruggs has been charged, could be facing up to 20 years.
Well, now I see it's 2 charges now of DUI. So that was one that I saw.
Because there was 2.
So so he might get a little bit more.
Yeah, one did pass away. One is in serious condition. I think. So I mean, hopefully they are able to come back from that. It's just it's gross news. It's sad news. If Henry Ruggs ever steps foot on the football field again, the NFL is officially, what's the word I'm thinking of? When you say one thing and you do the other. Why am I blanking on that word?
Two-faced?
Two-faced. Yeah, that's a good word for it. I'm blanking on the bigger word that sounds cooler. But
I'm a little man. I like little words.
Yeah.
I struggle with spelling. So
if anybody's listening, tell me how to do English because I can't do that right now. But
wait a minute, and you're writing right now?
Editors are fantastic. Yeah. Okay.
I have to applaud you, and you went right over it. And, it's so refreshing to see a couple. And if most of you, if you don't know, Randy is now writing for the Tribune, and now I've seen a couple of articles come out in the sports page. So it's awesome to see your name in the papers.
I had a lot of fun covering the 1A, D1, and D2 volleyball tournaments this weekend. It was a very long weekend doing that. But
Haley says hypocritical.
Hypocritical. Thank you. See that she's one of my editors when I do anything at home. But it'd be very hypocritical of the NFL if Henry Ruggs ever plays again, because you get the whole Ray Rice situation, terrible situation, of course. But if you want to say Henry Ruggs just made a mistake, you could say the same thing about Ray Rice, but I'm sure he made several other mistakes behind when it wasn't on camera. Same thing with John Gruden. Like John Gruden, obviously not the man a lot of people thought he was, but I would take a John Gruden over a Henry Ruggs at this point.
Well, and look at the MLB. They did the same thing with Darryl Strawberry. I mean, how many times you got to keep getting busted for drugs? And
but luckily for Strawberry, the 80s and the 90s were a little bit different. Well, if Ruggs ever comes back, then I'm going to have a big rant on the show.
We'll have a heyday about that one.
Yes. All right, let's go on to Randy's. Believe it or not, this one will be really quick because we've already kind of answered it. Believe it or not, the NFL trade deadline this year was a complete dud.
Yeah, and as much some of the players that are just not happy in certain situations. I'm surprised some of these teams didn't move them. OBJ being one of them. I'm surprised they didn't try to do something. But none of this stuff. Moves. Yeah, and that's the thing.
So here's the thing I've learned over the years: the NFL trade deadline is always a dud. Last year we had some good moves. But everyone thinks all these wide receivers are going to move, and the wide receivers almost never move. We had Odell that one year when he went from the Giants to Cleveland. But other than that, it's rare. But that's the list of people that are like, oh, this guy could move. I heard Jamison Crowder from the Jets. I was hearing Michael Thomas from the Saints. That one made zero sense to me because the Saints are in contention. But you're hearing all these different wide receivers, Deshaun Jackson, who ended up getting cut because obviously nobody wanted him to begin with, or they'll pick him off the scrapyard. But it's like wide receivers rarely move, or at least big name wide receivers rarely move. But we all think it'd be fun and sexy. And again, it's us playing fantasy football. And because we trade running backs and wide receivers all the time. But we saw it here. It's the unsexy moves that happened in the middle of the season. It's the linemen. It's a couple linebackers here and there. It's a backup tight end. It's teams just trying to fill in a couple pieces that possibly were opened up due to injury, or that just throughout the season they've realized it is not the perfect fit.
Well, I think too is part of these teams have already figured out, I'm not in this. Let's just bag it, and you know, how much more can we take of Detroit where they're not going to win, or Houston, you know. Miami doesn't even want to touch the whole Watson thing. Nobody wants to deal with it. Why bring that much more drama onto it?
Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll stick kind of with the trade deadline as far as draft picks go. Believe it or not, the Los Angeles Rams have proven that draft picks are completely overvalued.
I would say so. I just because they make moves. They make moves, but I don't understand the whole situation with. You know, I go back and I revisit the whole thing of, did the Rams make the right move with sending Goff off? And I mean, they're making 100%. They're making smart moves to get better.
But here's the thing. This is why I bring up the point. When was the last time the Rams had a first round pick?
I couldn't tell you that.
2016.
I was going to say
they don't have another first round pick till like 2024. You know how many picks they have this year? After trading their second and third round picks to Von Miller?
Probably one.
They have 3, but it's like a 5th rounder and 2 7th rounders. That's all they have in the draft. They have realized, and it's very interesting to see, and obviously if all 32 teams do it, then the value of these draft picks obviously go way down. But they've learned that people value these draft picks so much that it's like, we'll just here. If it only takes a 5th round pick and you're going to give us a starter, cool. You're going to give me a guy that's going to help me this year and possibly the next couple of years, and all I have to give you is this number that could turn into a player that over 50% of the time is a complete bust. Sure. Absolutely. I love what the Rams are doing. Again, if more teams start doing it, then that strategy kind of falls apart because the value goes down. But if you're the only one in the league doing this, I think it's pretty brilliant.
Well, I think they're doing good things. I mean, they're making things happen with Stafford. You know, get a guy that's going to revitalize and make these guys look good. Who would have figured that a guy out of Eastern Washington University would be basically 75 yards from 1,000 already? And leading, and I think he's leading the league in touchdown receptions. He's what? Yeah, he's so. Got what has he got on the year? He's got 10 touchdowns on the year. I mean, he's on pace right now.
He's been
for
great. Russell Wilson was what, a 3rd round pick? Brady, of course, is the famous one, a 6th round pick. So, I mean, you can get diamonds in the rough from time to time. Obviously, you would think you want first round picks. Kevin Millett brought up, the Seahawks and Jets trade. And I always am making fun of Seahawks fans because I want them to lose so the draft pick gets higher. However, it doesn't mean that they're just going to pick the right guy at that spot. How many people have been complete busts in the first round? So, again, if you're going to trade a first round pick and you're going to get a stud player, sure, absolutely. I think Jamal Adams has been fantastic for Seattle. There's issues around that right now, and they're still rebuilding, and the rest of the defense isn't there, but he has been all over the ball.
Yeah, that defense, even this week, kind of looked a little on the rough side with Jacksonville. So,
all right, a little bit more touchy one, and then we'll get moving on these last two real quick. But believe it or not, Calvin Ridley never needs to explain to the fans the reasoning for his absence.
I agree 110%. I mean, as much as it was shocking to know that, that he was taking time off for mental issues. Listen, that's one big thing that we're talking about in school on a daily basis with some of these students, stuff going on at home, stuff going on around the world, and we should never judge him based on that. Does he owe maybe his owner, his coach, an explanation? Yes, but as far as fans, no, I don't think so.
And I'm sure that has come up.
Yeah, right. I would think so too.
Or Atlanta would have a bigger issue with it, but they are behind him from everything I've seen, and I think they're handling it well. And listen, obviously in fantasy football culture that you and I are both a part of,
right?
Seeing Calvin Ridley out, and then it's not because of an injury, you're like, oh, that sucks.
It did. It just sucked for me. I lost my leg because
it's still a health issue, whether it's a broken leg or something broken mentally.
Yep.
That could cause you more harm. Take all the time you want, get things fixed. And again, now that I've remembered the word, thanks to Haley, it'd be hypocritical of us to praise Osaka for taking time off from tennis,
right?
And then blasting Ridley. And again, we don't deserve anything as far as information into his personal life.
The only like I said, the only person that matters in that would be his coach and his owner, because his owner is making the payment to you, and but as far as anybody else, no.
Again, if I'm going through something, I don't have to tell anybody on this show or that's listening to the show why I'm taking time off. I have to tell my bosses on the 4 different jobs I am currently a part of why I have to take time off, so they understand the situation, and then I would hope they would respect me enough not to blab it to everyone and just say, hey, Randy's taking some time off. He's dealing with some personal stuff. And that's all you have to do. And I think Atlanta's handling it really well. I praise Calvin Ridley for doing it. Honestly, it's got to be a tough situation and a scary situation to admit that you're going through that kind of stuff, because I guarantee you, I try not to look at the social media stuff, but I guarantee you he's getting ridiculed at places. And it takes a strong person to be able to do what Osaka did and to do what Ridley did. And we're seeing it more and more, and I really, really like to see it. All right, last 2, real quick. Believe it or not, Tennessee will still win the AFC South.
You and I talked about it. I pulled up the schedule. You know how much I look at strength of schedule. And I think if they can survive this next 4-game set, I think that they will stay and win the AFC South. With that being said, though, Jonathan Taylor and Carson Wentz. Carson has looked decent, but Jonathan Taylor is still probably the number 2 running back. Well, and now will probably be passing. He could easily be the number 1 if staying number 2. Run.
He'll be 3rd.
Well, I mean,
he's
top five. And I think, if they can get things going, Indianapolis, playing against your Jets this week, I mean, it's going to be a big game on Thursday night, national game. So
I think if Indianapolis would have not blown that game on Sunday and beat Tennessee, then I would say there's a possibility. But they have a 3-game lead now, and they swept them this year, so they own the tiebreaker. So I think Tennessee will still win the AFC West and after AFC South without him.
Yeah, and after that bye week, you look at after the bye week, there's really only one team that really would scare me in that schedule.
All right, last one. Kansas City will miss the postseason, believe it or not. They're currently, if the playoffs started today,
they're last
would be out.
Yeah. If you asked me that in like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I would definitely say,
me too.
That would be.
And they won on Monday and helped their playoff spot. And I'm more curious now than ever.
Yeah, I really think they have the toughest schedule finishing up. I think they're going to miss it. And that's what I put in the power rankings last night. I think it is the toughest schedule.
Name me one easy win left on their schedule.
One easy win. The only one that I would think might be easy would be Pittsburgh. And that's an even, and that's an easy. I think an easy win. That's in Arrowhead. It is the day after Christmas, so I mean, lots can happen. But
do I think Kansas City is better than Denver? Yes, but that's a division game, and we have seen multiple times division games are not easy.
God, you're a smart cookie, because that's exactly the same thing I thought when I was typing out the power rankings yesterday afternoon and looking at that Denver thing. That was the exact thing I thought.
We all thought Cleveland was better than Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
We all thought Tampa Bay was better than New Orleans, But when you play each other twice every single year.
And listen, I'm going to even chime in on Haley's team, Green Bay. Who would have figured that Rogers, with everything with dynamics of him not going to be, game, but I mean, it's the idea, him having the idea, knowing you're leaving and he's not going to come back to Green Bay next year. How is the relationship going to happen with that team? And I think they're proving us wrong, because I had Minnesota.
Rogers
I had Minnesota before.
Rogers and Adams came out with the whole Last Dance deal, and they're trying to do the whole Chicago Bulls thing. And if you watch that documentary, Chicago Bulls won the championship that year. So that's
so you're telling Haley that there's a chance.
Right. There's a chance that he has become the meme of the year from that picture that happened during the football game. My Twitter blew up. Literally, people that aren't football fans that are on my Twitter feed posted that picture up.
We need to find a meme and just blow up Haley's phone with it. I know she's going to be mad. We'll just keep doing it.
All right, let's go real quick, because I really want to get to college football, and we're running long as we always do, talking NFL. Player of the week for me, I'll go Homer if you want, and no, I am not going to go with the quarterback, because I want to give a big shout out to another rookie, Michael Carter. The offensive one, not the linebacker, who is also playing for the Jets. Right. The running back, Michael Carter. I love the strategy that the Jets are doing, and it works out perfect for Carter. He only has 15 carries, but gets 77 yards and a touchdown. But the bigger one for me, 9 catches for 95 yards. So you're looking at 172 total purpose yards. That's what the Jets need from him. So he's my player of the week.
Yeah, he did great. And looking at those stats, we could have went a few other people before this one. And somebody go ahead and tell Kevin Patterson, tell Pam Ingram, tell Shannon Wilson, I am taking a Cowboy this week. I'm taking Cooper Rush.
Oh, I thought you were going to take Dak Prescott for sitting down and letting Dallas win the game.
Listen, Cooper looked really good. And that's a lot of pressure for him to take over that game of a Sunday night game. And he managed it quite well and was able to 300 plus yards, two TDs. Yeah, he had the one interception, but he managed the game quite well. And to keep that ball club now 6 wins in a row, it's huge.
How is primetime Kirk Cousins still a thing? How can that guy not win during primetime? And how do I fall for it every time? I don't know. My game of the week was Tampa Bay, New Orleans. Obviously, division game. A lot of high scoring, a lot of points put up. Great back and forth battle. And, of course, they get down to that point where New Orleans scores. There's still over a minute to go. You're like, oh, here comes Tom Brady. He's going to do – oh, he threw a pick 6. Never mind. Yep. So it was fun. Yeah. That game was just fun.
Denise and I watched the last of that one, so it was really good. I'm going to stay in the AFC South, and with everything going on with Tennessee, Indianapolis. It was a great game. Chance for Indianapolis to come away with a big win.
By the way, I missed both of these games, which it was a fun last week.
I had to watch highlights.
No, I meant picks-wise.
Oh, yes.
I missed both of these games, which was a theme. But go ahead.
Yeah, so that was mine, and now knowing what's ahead, it was a huge game for these 2 ball clubs. So,
all right, what's your week 9 game to watch?
I'm going to stay with it. It's going to be Tennessee. How are they going to adjust? How is A.J. Brown going to look, and Ryan Tannehill going to look against L.A. Rams? I'm excited to watch just Cooper Kupp play ball. I mean, it'll be a good one. I think it's on local TV this week too.
I'm very curious. My game of the week is the Green Bay Packers at the Kansas City Chiefs. At Arrowhead's a big thing. Green Bay getting a couple extra weeks. They're going to get some of their wide receiver back. Can Kansas City bounce back? Figure out their offense at some point? Is Rodgers just going to carve up that beat-up defense? It'll be really interesting. And then Thursday night, which, of course, the Jets are on Thursday night, prime time, where I'll focus on them instead of just mostly watching Red Zone and switching to the Jets off and on, and I won't be able to watch. It would be the New York Jets at the Indianapolis Colts, while Chase and I will be at the Dude Perfect performance in Spokane.
I wanted to go up to that. I was excited to go.
Very, very, very excited about that. But I'm going to take Indianapolis home team Thursday night. Yes, the Jets upset Cincinnati, but it's a very young team. I don't think they're going to have enough time to prep.
Yeah, Homer there. You taking a home team, but I'm taking Indianapolis. The only reason I'm taking Indianapolis is I think they're going to feed on the idea of they've got a chance to get back in this division. It only being down 3 games, and I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be the difference in this one. He's going to run the ball against the Jets and keep going. So give me Indianapolis in that one.
All right, quick update. Your LCSC women's Warrior basketball team currently up 69-67 over Whitman with 5:50 to go in the fourth quarter. And I don't know, what's the baseball?
5-0. Atlanta Braves lead that one, top of the fifth.
I checked up a different stat and closed the window that actually had this.
Way to go.
So.
Let's talk about the best thing here.
All right, Lewis and Clarkson Minnesota football. We don't have time for this crap.
Yes, we do.
So there's a lot of crap.
Yes, we do.
Week 8 results as far as our weekly pick. You can't go woo because you went 9-6. All right.
I got a double-digit lead now.
Oh my goodness! So you can check out our picks every Thursday morning. We post them. Obviously, you know our Thursday pick before. The rest will be up there. And if you looked at it last week, and you keep track with us, you will realize that I got 4. I got 4 correct in all. It's not like the college where we only picked 5 games. We picked all 15 games. Mm-hmm. I got 4 right, and that's including Kansas City hanging on to give me my 4th win. And that was looking sketchy.
Yeah, it was.
I got my loser pick right. So that was all that matters. But it was like every upset. Upsets happen every week, but I picked every single opposite one. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right. So I don't pick the Jets to upset Cincinnati, but let me say Detroit's going to win their first game. Oh, wait, no, they lost by 40. And then every close game. Like Indianapolis, Tennessee was right down to the wire. Lose that one. Tampa Bay, it looks like Tom Brady is going to come back and win it at the end. Oh, no, never mind. Minnesota, Dallas was back. Minnesota has the lead till a minute to go. Oh, never mind. I lost that. It was a crap week. Nothing went right for me. I go 4-11. Your 9-6 looks completely dominant, even though 9-6 is not that great. But yes, you have an 11-game lead on me, right? And honestly, right, I'll give you full credit. 83-39. That's a stellar record, sir. I will give you that.
I like it. I'm gonna just keep plugging along, doing my thing. At least I don't have to figure out what Washington's gonna do this week or Seattle. With them guys by.
I've thrown in the towel on the Washington football team. I've waited for that to be a thing. I've wanting the Washington football team to be my fetch. Somebody get that reference, please. I don't think Robert got that reference. I didn't get it. But if Haley's still watching, she got the reference. All right, Lewis and Clarkson and Minnesota football. Unfortunately, the Lewis and Bengals did see their season come to an end as they got beat up pretty good, 44-13. Chris Hepburn just could not get anything going. The last 2 weeks for Lewiston, their offense completely got shut down. So they do finish the year. Did you update that? Is it 7-3 or 7-4?
Yeah, I did.
Update to 7-3. So still a very, very good season for the Bengals, just not ending the way that they were hoping for. Your Bantams, though, going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
Because they end up losing, 30-27. So now we had the Lewiston football team and the Kansas City tiebreaker. There's not even a cool name for your tiebreaker.
No, I don't understand it
just
either.
Minis. We're playing a couple of minis.
Yeah,
and that doesn't sound like the Kansas. We joked about the Kansas City tiebreaker, and we needed like the Texas Tornado death match or whatever. Can we get the Washington Tornado tag gauntlet match going on here? So explain, sir. Is Shaun here?
I don't know.
I'll go check. You talk about Clarkson.
So here's the idea behind all of this, and in it, I hate using this word. It comes down to the idea of COVID, and so West Valley, East Valley do not play each other during the regular season. So they will come and play each other on Friday. This will happen at 6 p.m. up at University High School. They will play 2 10-minute half games. So just because they didn't play earlier in the season, that's why they're playing them first. And so the Bantams will then end up getting the winner of that game about 20 minutes to a half hour later. So their time frame is at about 7:30. Then the winner of that game will end up representing the second place team out of the GSL, where we have moved to GSL this year. That kind of changes how everything looks wise for that team and that. So They lost to West Valley. East Valley was a close one. They should have handled business against Shadle Park here the other night. They give up, only scored once in the second half. They were up, so tough season. Landon Taylor, though, has another big night, 169 yards, 3 touchdowns. So, yeah. But also, we'll take a look at Asotin really quick. They lose a tough one against Liberty. I did talk to Coach Jim Holman. They are going to play one more game, but they had the lead after the end of the first quarter, and then all of a sudden they just lose their footing. So they will be playing Chewelah on Thursday, just kind of a one last game for the year. Yeah, sure. So.
All right, let's get to some LCSC sports for volleyball, which, I don't know, we had a ghost over there. Somebody was trying to play a kick on it, so we're still waiting for Pohlman to get here. He's got a few minutes, so he's supposed to. But for volleyball, they get 2 big sweeps over the weekend against Multnomah and Warner Pacific. They moved to 16-12 on the year, 11-9 in conference. So that puts them in a tie for 5th place with Northwest. Evergreen and College of Idaho are in 7th and 8th, both 1 game back. The top 6 make the postseason. So it's a 4-team race. 2 teams will make it. According to what I was able to look up, LCSC holds the tiebreaker over all 3 of the teams that they're battling with. So if they get 1 win this weekend, or Evergreen and College of Idaho both lose one of their games this weekend, LCSC should be in. Or if Northwest loses both, and one of those 2 teams lose. But the big one is win a game, you're in, is from what I've been able to check. And it's not going to be easy for LC to do so. But if you want to end up making the national tournament, you're going to have to beat these teams in the conference tournament anyway. So might as well beat them this weekend. But this is the weekend that we need all of the Warrior faithful to come out and cheer on this volleyball team. Hopefully there's a big crowd going on right now in the basketball game, and they'll be able to listen to us on their way home. But Friday at 7 p.m., they will take on number 23 Bushnell, who I believe is 4th right now in the Cascade Conference. And then Saturday at 5 p.m., which is senior night, they will take on number 7 Corbin. So 2 top 25 teams in the country, and you got to win at least 1. And both of those teams beat up LC on the road earlier this year. But LC has been, we'll talk about it with Pohlman here in a few minutes, but the Warriors have been on the most roller coaster season I've ever seen in any sport ever. Under an umbrella, you can say that LC has won 10 of their last 16.
Right.
But when you break it down, they won 5 in a row, then they lost 6 in a row, and now they've won 5 in a row. Yeah. It is the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think too, how many of these girls are used to traveling as much as they do. So, I mean, it's kind of a different life for traveling, and most of them are right around here, but still, I mean, it's tough to manage a lot of this. And so I chalk it up to a little bit of travel time.
As far as basketball goes, the men's team started their year out 2-0 after back-to-back blowouts against Yellowstone Christian. They won the first one 102-68 and the second one 104-66. Their next game is tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. against Northwest Indian College here at the Activity Center. So go root them on there. And then Friday at 6 p.m., they're going to upset Gonzaga in the Kennel, right? Right.
You and I really wanted to go to that.
I wanted to go so bad. But it'll be an interesting game to keep an eye out. We'll be at the volleyball game.
Yep.
But very, very cool for them to be able to do that. And like I said, the women opened their season just about an hour and a half to go. Score update, we're 1:07 left to go in the 4th quarter. Warriors currently up 80-17. Sarah Muehlhausen leading the way with 16 points. Hannah Broyles with 14. So keep you up to date until that game is over. I think their next game is next Tuesday in the next division game against Idaho. And then LCSC cross country, their season's coming up to a wrap. They have their Cascade Conference Championships on Friday. The men will run at 11 a.m. and the women will run at noon. You can check out lcwarriors.com to keep track of that. All right, I got to get into it. We're going to skip a bunch of this college stuff because I got to get into these playoffs before Shaun gets here, and then we'll do our picks in a little bit.
Okay.
What is this junk?
What are you talking about?
The whole thing.
What?
Obviously, these rankings are just created to cause controversy. Correct?
100% agree with that.
So I don't even know where to start on any of this. So obviously, watching the special that ESPN put on, they noticed really quickly that this committee really loves head-to-head, which is why they kept Oregon ahead of Ohio State. Mm-hmm. And if you go down the rankings, it happens several times. Well, this team beat this team, so they made sure they went above. And that's all fine and dandy. But Oregon is not one of the 4 best teams in the country right now.
No.
If you want to keep them ahead of Ohio State, that's fine. Like, if you want to punish Ohio State for losing September 11th to Oregon, and then Oregon going out and losing to Stanford, like, those are 2 different kind of losses. I get head-to-head, but when it's that long ago, that cannot be your only criteria. All right, like, if it happens later on. Also, yes, it'll play itself out. But Alabama at 2 after losing to Texas A&M over multiple teams that are undefeated, like Michigan State, or how about Oklahoma, who's undefeated, have played several really tough games. Have they always looked pretty? No. But Oklahoma is 8th.
I think that's the ugliest one there.
That one just made 0 sense to me. And even worse, well, maybe not worse. But Cincinnati, who, yes, the last 2 weeks have not been the prettiest wins. And obviously it's not because they're in one of the Power 5 conferences and it's the bias there. But they beat everyone in front of them, including a Notre Dame team, who they have ranked 10th. And their only loss was to Cincinnati. Right. And you have Cincinnati 6th.
I think the bigger one. Yes, I'm upset about the Cincinnati one because I follow Cincinnati.
You're a Bearcat.
But I think the Oklahoma one is the bigger one. I mean, those guys still playing a lot better than a couple of the other ones. I'm glad that Michigan State is getting the look they deserve.
Should be 2, but not 3. But
yeah, I seriously think that. I think Michigan State should be up 1 more. Oregon shouldn't be anywhere near that. It should be Cincinnati there. I think it's either Cincinnati or Oklahoma in the 4th spot. But why Oregon is even in the conversation?
It's simply because they beat Ohio State and they want Ohio State up there.
And you throw in Wake Forest. I mean, Wake Forest still undefeated. But, I know they look at strength of schedule. I know they look at head-to-head.
And that's honestly the way I don't know if I watched a single play of Wake Forest. So I don't even know if they're good, to be honest. They're 5-0 in the ACC, so that's great. And usually we'll give Clemson's
garbage this year.
And they haven't even played Clemson.
Exactly.
So you're looking at the way you like schedules. Wake Forest right now is beating Old Dominion, Norfolk State, Florida State, who is not the team that we're used to.
No, not at all.
Virginia, Louisville, Syracuse. The 2 games against Louisville and Syracuse were both 3-point games. They had that crazy one with Army where 126 points were scored. And then they beat Duke 45-7. So they have not played anybody, to be fair, for Wake Forest. But they have won all their games. They finish off at North Carolina, the North Carolina State, who's ranked 19th, and then Clemson and Boston College. They don't play anybody the whole way other than the Wolfpack. But I'm not going to get super worked up other than this was just created for controversy because it's all going to play out. Oklahoma, if they win out, are going to end up in the top 4 because they play some fantastic games along the way that will help bump them up. Mm-hmm. Georgia and Alabama are on a track to face each other in the SEC championship game. If Alabama loses that game, they're out. If they win, then we're going to get both teams in. Michigan State will play Ohio State. That'll work itself out. Oregon is the interesting one to me. They should roll through the Pac-12, but could they still possibly be bumped out by an Oklahoma if Oklahoma runs the table? Can Michigan pass them if Michigan beats Ohio State, even though they have the 1 loss to a Michigan State where Michigan was up big? They were up 16 in that game and then let that slip away. There's a lot to go.
Oh, tons to go.
We have all of November still, but it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, there a ton to go. But you look also in that whole idea too is that you've got not even just in the American, you still got Cincinnati, who's still not even number one in their own conference. The only reason they're not, they've got Houston right now above them, but they've only played one extra game and they've got more points than Cincinnati. But I just don't understand why Oregon is even in the talking of top four.
It's because they beat Ohio State 2 months ago, and they want head-to-head to matter, which I get because you want teams that play each other, and they want, I guess, they want to promote playing a difficult schedule, and if you can win that schedule, we will reward you for it, I guess. But I have not seen anything from Oregon since that game that makes me believe that they are a top 4 team in the country.
I don't know. I think it's Georgia's year. It'll be Georgia's. It's going to be Georgia's year.
And everyone else.
But I think Michigan State should have been higher. Alabama should have been switched around, and probably Oklahoma there at 4, Cincinnati at 5.
All right, let me set this up. You introduced the guest, sir.
Oh, this guy right here. He is a blast to listen to. I've gotten to listen to his conversations he has with his players on the benches. Now I've gotten to call a few games. You're giving me the eye like, what are you gonna say? But this guy,
we're not recording them.
No,
okay?
This guy, he brings a fire to this team and brings the game out in these girls. And this is LCSC's volleyball coach, Mr. Shaun Pohlman. How are you, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
It is a blast to finally. We've talked a couple times after games. I know you've interviewed with Randy and said we've got to get you on because just the emotion you have while you play. While I have watched these girls play, it's just I feed off of it. Yeah. I like watching the interaction with you.
I appreciate that.
How is it dealing with all those women all the time?
I mean,
it's a weird way to state that sentence.
It's funny because of some of the conversations I hear, and a couple of the players look at me. How do you like? And then I'm like, what did that just come out of her mouth? And I was like, okay, but you challenge the girls, and that's the thing. That's what I enjoy about watching you coach.
Yeah, not obviously not to get into any political talking points, but there's definitely been webinars or seminars at coaching conventions that talk about the difference between coaching men versus women or whatever else. And so there's a lot of bonding that has to go into the battle, and that's the basic premise, so to speak. And so but our team's coming along, and I sometimes feel like I know exactly what to say, and sometimes I'm at a loss of words, and you try to find it. You also try not to just talk, and be a little bit more deliberate in the message that you're sending, because it's up for interpretation all the time.
Yeah, and you say talk, and I remember this one time out, the last home game that I was at and worked is you kind of step back and you let the players take control of the timeout and let them deal with their own situation. And I watched you, and you just kind of acknowledge the idea that they're the leaders on that floor too.
Yeah. And
they were able to make their own, and they ended up coming back and winning that game, that fourth game, the fourth set, and the last home game. I'm trying to remember the last one I worked.
College
the last home
Idaho.
game. Yeah, College of Idaho, and they come back and win that. And so you just let them.
Yeah. There's times when the best thing to do is, if they're asking a lot of questions, that means there's uncertainty, right? And if there's uncertainty, that means that they're asking you to save them. And, it's like, I'm not, we're here to provide guidance and help and like yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, there's certain situations like the one you're talking about where it's just like, hey, we've kind of said everything there needs to be said, and it's time for you guys to figure it out instead. And so, that'd be that situation.
And you and I have talked about after a game about just, having the leaders that you have on the court and relying on them. And that's the one thing that I've noticed, being able to call the games and just kind of observing is there's always that seat right next to you. Mm-hmm. It's always open. And it seems like anytime one of the ladies get subbed out, one of them comes, sits down to you, you have a quick one-on-one.
Yeah.
Is that because they're asking those questions, or is that your way of kind of then relaying a message across the board?
Yeah, both. Sometimes they have questions, so they're, hey, can I try to figure this out, and then sometimes it's like, hey, take a seat. We need to chat just a bit, and and then we kind of go about our day, so to speak. And so I've always done that. Just took up 2 seats, and just like when I need to scoot over and have somebody sit down, and just have a brief conversation. And like you said, like sometimes they come out and they say, hey, on that block, or what am I doing on my hit, or what's open, or whatever, and just a quick conversation. And there's just a lot of places to look all at the same time. I mean, this is a very fast game, and
I've learned trying to call play-by-play for this thing. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
and you talked about it. It's a lot of reaction. In where I've coached football, you understand you got to wait for the hole to open up and move and develop. For volleyball, you got to look as soon as those girls are coming up, and we talk about Jada, we talk about Cassidy getting up to try to get a kill. They're looking the last second before they even decide which direction they're going. I mean, the
fundamentals play a big role in that, because if they're always looking at where they want to go, then their fundamentals might not be good. And so we work a lot on fundamentals, especially in the off season. So that way, when they go up, they have a clarity of mind as they're going to see that open hole. So
we've been lucky enough, or at least I've been lucky enough, where I've talked to probably 2/3 of the girls this season, whether it's coming in and doing interviews here or post game. And at least when they come on here, we play a game at the end with everybody, where we do word association. Of course, we always have to throw the coach out.
Yeah.
And so that's where my next question to you comes in, because almost to a T, all of the girls, when we bring up your name, it's passionate, sometimes overly caring. So how would you describe your own coaching style for your players to be able to go? He's very passionate and he loves us very much. Sometimes he gets on us a little bit too much, as far as like, I won't even call him out because I can't remember who said it, but one of them was like, they care, like, not only does he care about what's going on the court, he cares about off the court sometimes too much. So how do you describe your own coaching style?
Yeah, so I can't say that I was some star athlete. I looked around and I had talent myself, but I had a lot of other young adults that were talented too, and I can just tell you that none of us really lived up to any potential that we had. And a lot of that had to do with the way we were compartmentalizing our own lives, or the way that we would just approach, try to walk into the gym, flip the switch on and go, as opposed to like actually prepare yourself and be ready to get in there and go at it. And so, there's definitely this, if I wanted to make more money, I wouldn't be in education as a collegiate coach.
Ain't that the truth? It's the middle school level too. It ain't for that.
Yeah. And so, if that's not what it's about, it's about going, okay, like, this is a very important time in their lives, 18 to 21, 22 years old. I think one can say this is the most important, although there could be argument that, their youth and their upbringing, but I've seen a lot of kids with poor upbringing make a really great decision in that 18 to 22-year-old range, and it just changed their life. The opposite's true, where they had a great life and then they get to the 18, 22 and it just completely went off the rails. So I think 18 to 22 is really important, and I take that seriously. I don't, you guys were talking about football when I came in. I'm a huge fan of PJ Fleck at the University of Minnesota. And he talks a lot about you're coming in here and you're only going to care about one thing, and that's football. And I'm going to expect you to care about a lot of things. I'm going to expect you to care about the way you hold yourself in the community, the way that you hold yourself in the classroom. He even said it word verbatim of what I tell our own players. You're going to, we expect you or want you to sit in the middle row or in the front seats or the middle row, because statistically those are the people that get the best grades, right? And so we want you to be engaging and participating and being good citizens on off the court. yada, yada, yada. And we want you to care about a lot of things. So when you talk about like, how do I summarize my coaching style, I'd say holistic, like I want them to care about a lot of things, but also there's a piece to that where it's, man, you care way too much about this thing that's really not that important. Like you got to let this thing go. In fact, last night, as we're preparing for the end of the season, I had them do this brain dump where they just took everything out of their head and put it out on a piece of paper because, they just try to hold on to everything,
right.
And so it's like, okay, like now that you have that, we're trying to organize it. Now, what are the five things that needed to be done like yesterday, tomorrow morning type of thing. And then taught them how to prioritize that and just teach them how to like, okay, so that thing that was last on your list, you're stressing out about it, but it's really not that big of a priority, And so like, yeah, holistic, but also just try to keep the bigger picture in mind. And sometimes that requires zooming out and seeing the bigger picture. And then there's times where you have to zoom in and go like, right now you need to be focusing on this part of your life,
And all of that is so important to learn. And I'm so glad you do stuff like that. And you brought what the Minnesota coach was talking about, where it's not all about football. And that's so important to teach some of these young athletes, because all you hear, and as somebody that listens to sports radio religiously,
sure,
or I've gotten away from like the first takes and stuff because they just make my head hurt anymore. But any of these talking heads, like Robert and I, like any of them on the pro level, when they're talking about pro athletes, I hear all the time is like, well, you want this guy because he wakes up and thinks football, and he goes to sleep and he's thinking football, and that's all he thinks about. And that's all you hear. It's you want Trevor Lawrence because he's studying all the time, and you don't want Baker Mayfield because he wants a life or anything like that. And it's so important to have a coach like that, where it's like, I want you to play volleyball really well when you get on the court, but like volleyball is going to end for you in 4 years, and I want you to be that mentor for the rest of your life and to take that next step. So that's awesome to hear.
So I mean, that's the approach that I've always taken, and I'd say it served me well. I think it served the relationships. Again, if I was in this for something other than money, if I was in it for money, I wouldn't be in this. If it was something other than the relationships and how to help people, just be that positive influence to help them reach a different level of their life. And I get some people that reach back, every once in a while and just say, hey, thank you so much for that.
It's the same thing I deal with, and I come home and you being an educator just like me, and it's all about the same thing I have to remind, and my wife reminds me of this all the time, and I have to take a deep breath and remember it is we teach for the outcome, not the income.
Agreed.
Always, and to think about, that's our biggest thing with the 7th and 8th grade boys, and I coach a lot younger kids than you do, but it's the same thing. How am I going to be a better person? How am I going to be, how do we teach these kids to lift each other up, to be a good classmate first before before you're out on the field and then into the community and all that. So it's a huge thing to do. So
So I want to touch on real quick on you're just talking about the writing down everything, and you did that for practice. I want to talk about more real quick, something that I've learned, like now calling the sport this year and getting into the sport a lot more because of it, is how much communication there is on the court. And just because Robert and I come in about an hour before, and the girls are starting to warm up, and even then it's super loud, like the music blaring, and you can still hear the whole group. What kind of like training exercises or practices do you do to kind of help with that kind of communication? Because there's so much involved in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that just has to be a standard that you see on the daily, as opposed to you do one drill that reminds them, once a week or something. But I would say there is a particular drill on what to call and what do you see and things like that. And it frustrates just about anybody that does it for the first time, because everybody sees the game but doesn't necessarily verbalize the game. So you can imagine a linebacker or quarterback having to read and then call out what they're reading while also still making the play. And it's just like, you're the brain that has the capacity for language and feeling those are different parts of the brain. Well, playing is a lot of feeling and not a lot of brain work. So it really frustrates people because they have to kind of, I don't want to say use both sides of their brain at the same time, but what it does is it just allows us to be on the same page because we can't hear what you're thinking. And so, when the pass gets made, we want to know, is the ball going to be on the net? Is it off the net? Is it going to come over the net? Or is it going to be like a trouble ball? And so we'll do a drill where it's just like we toss and we'll pass and it's on, off, over, trouble. And then they have to communicate that, And then the next one's going to be like where their hitter's going. So there is the hitter inside or outside? Is the middle coming 3 quick slide? So they have to say that, like, as the ball's in the air, they have to say,
I got to take notes.
They have to say on, and then, on 3, then they have to pick up the setter again. And it's just this is just it's a fast game. You got 6 people in a 900 square foot area, and it's a combination of power and finesse. I mean, it's got just about everything, as far as that goes. And it's just very unique, and it's a really beautiful game for sure.
Yeah, I'm learning more from, when Alicia asked me to start doing PA, and I was excited about doing it, but you get those funny nervousnesses again, from announcing myself doing basketball and football and doing the sports on the radio to, how do I make adjustments super quick? And I got those goosebumps again. But, the game has changed a lot from what I remember in high school. We played side outs, we played 15 points, and it just seemed, it just felt like, oh my God, this game, is it ever going to get over? But now it's just like, dude, we were done the other day within an hour, and we played 4 sets. I'm like, this is nuts.
So, It's definitely evolved over the years. It used to be 30 points in college too. So now it's 25. It was all to appease viewership for, and it's all about how can we speed it up and get better ratings and things like that. And then the libero was introduced as a way to get shorter players to an opportunity to play because, it was always recruiting the taller players, and shorter players really weren't getting any opportunities at that point. And now there's a lot of good things that advances, so to speak.
We've got a couple of great liberos on our team, don't we?
Yes. Yeah. We're actually, I just looked up, I don't know where we were after this last weekend, but the weekend before, we were, in terms of conference only stats, we were number 1 in digs per set. So that's a pretty good place to be.
And you're getting you're in your 4th season here at LC. So let's talk a little bit prior to this.
Sure.
You've been coaching a long time, 7 years at Northwest College there in Wyoming. Had a great record, 168-49. So what was your experience at that school there?
Yeah. I came in and we had like 2 returning players. And so we, had to load up and get a lot more and everything else. And, once you start getting the difference makers, the program changers, that's when it matters. That's when you start seeing a lot of those, I guess, the big jumps, so to speak. But then to really make it to the next level, and I'm talking, the Eastern Oregon, the Corbin, they're a perennial powerhouse. You got to have culture. And I was a little naive when I came in. I knew that, I had asked a lot of people what's missing. I asked other conference coaches. I asked every player coming in, like, what's missing, and tried to get a better idea. And I was like, I feel like I can tackle that or work on that or whatever else. And I even had the local KLEW guy interview after like our first home match. And he's like, well, what's different? And I was like, I don't know. I wasn't here before. I just know the way that I want things done. And so, it's such a blend between transactional and transformational. And so was very fortunate in my past careers to be able to get both of those things, because when you start getting too transactional, you lose buy-in unless you're winning, you know? Also, what you do is, you know, you get if it serves me, I'll do it. So you get conditional commitment within the players too. And that, you know, that's that transactional piece. It's, well, I paid for that. I'm not, no, I don't want that. Please take it back. You know, you get that bitterness to it, so to speak. And then if you go a little too transformational, then it's too much about caring, and you get too much on that side of things, okay, to where you don't get the results that you're looking for. And so, like, I was very fortunate during that time at Northwest to learn how to change a culture. I was very fortunate to have the transactional piece there. And I'll just tell you, I've got, you know, a couple wild stories on how that, you know, how that got there. I don't know what our time is, so I'll like hold off on those. But yeah, just being able to really attack both things, you know, and you have to have the talent, you got to have the culture, and we had those pieces, and I think you know, I some days I just go, I was lucky, and I really do feel in a big way. I still to this day feel very lucky. I recruited 4 or 5 players sight unseen, not from video, but from D1 friends who made like, hey, I got a kid for you, I want to put with you. You know, it's like, you know, like, and they worked out, and they were from other countries, and you always battle cultural differences, even in the United States. You know, you get a Hawaiian kid that culture is very laid back, very, you know, just everything's going to be okay. You don't have to get so uptight, you know, like that's that culture. Then you got Wyoming culture that's like, no, we work, we freak out about things, and we work hard, and we, you know, and so you get this Wyoming and this Hawaiian like clash, and you got to somehow make that work. And so we can't be Wyoming. We couldn't be Hawaii. We couldn't be Serbia. I've got a lot of players from Eastern Europe. We couldn't be those things. We had to learn how to be one thing. And so that's why I say like transformational was really important.
And you definitely have that here, where everything that, again, talking to as many of the girls that I've been able to talk to, they all say family.
Yeah.
And how close everyone is. And you see that before the matches, or you see it. And this is the other thing I have to ask in a second too, but I'll get to that in a second. But just like, how is that culture here, and how has that worked for you? Because again, with all the girls talking about family, and again, you see them in timeouts having a good time, or before the game,
dancing.
The dance. We'll get into that. But like, is that something that you've been able to help create, or is that just because the girls have,
I think it's a mix. You know, when we're asking questions to recruits, we're trying to get a certain cultural body, so to speak, right? And so we don't go purposely recruit people that we don't feel are going to fit that mold, so to speak. And so like I think it's a little bit of, hey guys, you know, before we even touched a ball as a team, as a formal practice, we took a team retreat, and just like, what does this year look like? What is it that we want to accomplish? And what does it mean to be on the same page, and like really connect on that level? And part of it wasn't just serious talks. We had them do a lip sync battle. You know, it was 2 different groups, and they had a lip sync battle, and it's actually on our Instagram page. You can go find it. You know, we put them up, you know, and so there was some enjoyment there. And so we give them opportunities to be able to do it. But if you tell people who are just, you know, like, don't mean this to be offensive, but if they're book nerds, the only thing they want to do is read and be quiet, and we ask them to do that, it's probably not going to look the same, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with a book nerd, so to speak. Like, that's fine. It's just a matter of like, if our whole team was that personality or cultural characteristic, we would just be a different team. We wouldn't see the dancing. We wouldn't see the looseness. We wouldn't see the energy as much. You know, they may still be really good volleyball players, but the cultural piece would just look differently. And there's teams that are out there that do that.
And we saw it firsthand, and we got a great laugh out of it as we called the men's basketball game. And to see them all show up and sit together, and they're cheering on their fellow athletes on the men's side, and they were having a great time.
Yeah.
And even in timeouts, and then
during
her bird call during the free throws. But it just seemed like they have melded together.
They do. Yeah.
Very well. So
yeah, the men's basketball team is definitely somebody that our team even talks about. It's like, hey, like, look at how invested they are and how hard they work, and there's a lot of personalities and bold personalities on that team, and they still sacrifice part of the me for the we. And I know Austin expects that of his
I've yet to see the men. I've only seen 2 of their 3 games so far, but I've yet to see the men's basketball team dance during the time.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen.
I want to know how many of the girls are listening tonight.
I don't know, to be honest with you.
Because they all talk.
No one listens.
Everybody
to us.
listens.
I'm talking into a fake mic right now. Is that what
There
you're
you
saying?
go.
No,
Nothing is even on.
Yeah.
It's just weird lights and stuff. It's movie magic that we have going on.
Yeah.
For sure. So, but I want to bring that up just because obviously watching it and calling it, I'm always having a good laugh. I forget even what game it was, and we've talked about it several times on this show, but getting ready for a 5th set, and everything has been it's been a really tight back and forth match, and they go out there getting ready for the 5th set, and they're playing some music, and everybody on both teams do the same dance move at the same time. It's like volleyball is just a whole different creature as far as that goes, but can that also be a double-edged sword at times where the fun can get a little too much?
Yeah, and I've never really experienced silliness. That's what I would define as silliness.
Yeah.
You want high positive energy. What's more high positive energy than dancing? And that's not demanded of us. Again, that's a personality thing that I think that just kind of creeps out. The other thing with dancing, one could argue, well, that's a lack of focus, and another could argue, but that's also them being loose and not so tight. And in the game of volleyball in particular, if you're tight, I mean, this is a game of processing information. Okay. So the ball's coming at you in a very fast way, and most of the time it's moving, like not just moving forward, backward, but up, down, left, right. So there's this 4-dimensional figure essentially coming at you. And the tighter you get, the more restrictive your body, and the harder it's going to be for you to do your job.
Yeah. And to be fair to the volleyball team, once the play starts, I mean, they are straight focused. There was a team that you guys played earlier this year that I still couldn't believe it. They were like laughing midpoint, and like they would hit it and just start laughing while the ball was still in the air. Like, what is happening over here?
Yeah. It frustrated our team a little bit. I wasn't at that game, but it frustrated our team. They were like, "This isn't even volleyball." Like they were very upset with that particular. I remember that.
But I do have to ask. We were talking about this year at this team. We talked about it earlier on in the show. I've never seen a team in any sport have the roller coaster ride that this team has had. Sure. As far as I brought up the joke of if you just tell an outsider that the LC volleyball team is 10-6 in their last 16 games. Oh yeah, they're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
But they won 5 in a row, and then they lost 6 in a row, and now they're on a 5-game winning streak. So how has that been able to manage? I know we talked during the losing streak the last home, and you can tell you were frustrated. And there was even a point where like you just took them off the court, and so I'm sure you guys had a meeting that none of us wanted to be a part of. But like, how has that been able to manage these crazy ups and downs of the season?
Yeah, it's hindsight's always 20/20, and we figuring out the combination to the lock is always the struggle for any team on any sport. And you got to remember there's 3 digits to figure out. So we figured out the first one fairly early on. We took some losses because of it, but we figured it out. And then the second combination, and then finally I want to believe we figured out that third spot here as we roll into the end. But I think if I'm again, scope, if I'm zooming out and really seeing a much larger picture here, what I would tell you is that that when we looked to take over, like when I took over, we had 2019 off season, okay, to start working on a vision and leadership and what does the future of this program look like. Okay. So then we had a set of returners. Okay. And now I'm just going to tell you that those set of returners from that 19 team were a mix of my players and players that were here that I had here, and I love them all the same. But I think just everybody wanted something a little bit different, so to speak, and so we just weren't quite on that same page. And we kind of knew it, but we're like, okay, like, let's just put our best foot forward and let's just do what we can. But then the pandemic hit. And so we go from this coaches taking over and trying to transform the program into something different, not better, different. And we're in the middle of that process, and it's a 3-year process in order to even get started on it. And the pandemic hits, and we backslid completely. Just between the quarantines and the restrictions and the bubble, and I'll just tell you, our team in particular, I'm not going to call out other teams, but I'm just going to tell you our team in particular took that very serious. And there's a reason why our numbers on our team were so low with COVID when it first came out, because we took it serious. I'm also going to tell you, mentally, it was we saw people leave our program because there's too much. And so, like, for this whole pandemic, like, being able to, like, see this in a much bigger picture. Yes, there's a physical ailment, there's a mental ailment too. And so, like, as soon as we were able to kind of, like, get through and get to some games in the spring and let loose, we saw some freedoms. But if you look at the spring season, we had a ton of injuries, and injuries you can't prevent. I mean, we had 2 ACL tears. We had a shoulder injury we weren't expecting. We had a different knee injury that was not an ACL tear. We had 3 concussions, and we had a sprained ankle. And those aren't preventable injuries. I mean, you're talking about people that stepping on people and things like that, and a ball getting hit on your head. I mean, and I wouldn't say concussions are very common, but my point being that when we went to end the season, and I was looking at leadership and vision for our future for this coming year, my players went, Coach, I'd love to do this, but I honestly just need a break. And it's like, what are you supposed to do at that point? Too bad? No. Like, I just felt for him. And so, like, we took a break, and what we missed out on, first combination of the lock, or the first combination was, like, we cared a little bit too much, and we needed to, like, just chill. Like, we had some overachievers that, like, like perfectionists, so to speak. We had to put that into perspective. But the second one was the leadership piece. And so, like, once we started getting leadership, well, what did we see? We saw some winning happening and starting. Okay. And then we went on that losing streak, and I'll just tell you that that's the cultural vision piece, that if we had an off season, if it was a normal year, I think we experienced some of it, but I just don't think we experienced it to that depth. So then we address it. So guess what? We're on this winning streak again, And so, there was, because we were beating teams that have upset the number 1 team in the conference. I mean, and we handled them very, very well. We also lost to teams that are not even going to be in the conference tournament. So it's like, yes, roller coasters are great. We could beat anybody. We're truly a dark horse. We can beat anybody. Can probably lose to just about anybody, depending on the time of year this year. And so we're going to walk out of here with higher than a 500 record, despite all of that, and despite all those stories from last year and all this other stuff. So I got to kind of look forward, and look now, because now is important too, but kind of keep the bigger picture of, like, past, present, future type of thing.
So let's talk about, the near future and
Sure.
This weekend.
Yep.
Obviously, very, very big weekend as far as trying to get into the postseason. I don't know if my math is right with all of the weird tiebreakers and stuff, but we can get into that if you want to. But 2 big games that you're, I'm sure, more focused on.
Yeah.
So you get Friday but here, both of them at home. You get Bushnell, who is back being ranked. I think they're 23rd. I saw. And then you get Corbin, who is down to 7th after they were upset by Evergreen last week. Which, by the way, I was working at the Tribune when that happened. I was keeping track of your game, and I was all right. They won. All right, now see what everyone else did.
Yeah,
just thinking, okay, Evergreen's going to lose. Let's see what College of Idaho did. And I saw College of Idaho lost. Oh my God! Yeah, this is awesome.
Yep.
Evergreen beat Corbin.
What?
Okay.
Yep.
But so 2 huge games from what I've been able to gather. You have to win at least one to lock in because you have the tiebreakers over the other 3.
Correct.
But how do you go into this against 2 big? Is it the same motions?
Yeah. So that third combination of the lock is we did one of 2 things. We were trying not to lose, or we were trying too hard to win. And I think that when you're a little too outcome focused, you start stressing yourself out a bit. And I mean, Kobe Bryant is one of the best basketball players to ever live, right? And his legend will continue for a very, very long time. And he said, and he was asked the question, do you love to win or hate to lose? And he said, neither. Because either one is a weakness. And so he's just about being the best possible basketball player. That's what he was about. I just want to be the best basketball player that I could possibly be. And so going into this weekend, we need to maintain that direction of going like, listen, if you don't have what it takes at the end of the season, you just don't have it. And so you got to kind of just trust and lean into your journey a little bit more and just go that what you've done has prepped you for the moment, and you just put your best foot forward, give everything you got, let chips fall where they may. And if that's a win, it's a win. And if it's a loss, and it's a loss. And I don't know that, I don't know that a lot of people can appreciate that mentality, but at the end of the day, both sides want to win and both sides don't want to lose. So winning and losing, wanting to win and wanting not to lose, or the severity of those things there's no X factor in that. Right. But if we can keep an infinite mindset, because winning and losing is a finite mindset. If we can keep an infinite mindset about it, like, well, we lost that point. Oh, well, let's move on.
And I think that's my least favorite argument I ever hear all the time, where people talk about NFL games. They're like, oh, that team just wanted it more. What? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. But the last thing I'll hit on real quick, and then we'll get into some of the fun questions, and we'll let Robert drill you with our hard-hitting questions we have here on the R&R Sports Report, which, by the way, we've done none of our ad reads. We've done none of this.
No.
Oh, boy. We're all over.
Joe's going to yell at us.
It's what we do. We're very unprofessional here. But crowd reactions and having the crowd back this year after having the bubble and not really having anybody last year. And then we saw, I think it was the College of Idaho game where, again, I'm going to call out any Warrior that's listening right now. Right. That fan base was really bad that last home game.
Yeah, it was pretty hard.
What can we do to try to get that place jam-packed, ready to go? Senior night on Saturday, 2 huge games, a lot of possible playoff previews.
Well, I mean, you get to witness history. At the end of the day, this is the first time we've been in second season of Cascade Conference technically, but only 6 teams go to the postseason, and so we make it. I mean, it may not be 4th in the nation or 1st in the nation, but it's still history, right? And you get to be part of the first team that made it to postseason. And in my opinion, has always been, if you can make it to postseason, anything can happen. Yes.
Right.
That's why the NCAA tournament, March Madness, is just amazing, right? Because you can make it there. Whoo, anything can happen.
Yep. And Cinderella's dance every once in a while. So
that's right. And so, that would be my thing. My plea, so to speak. Right. I mean, you got seniors on Saturday, Friday with Bushnell. I think that's, if you're looking on paper, right, that's our best chance. And so, be there Friday type of thing.
Yeah. Win that game and you're in.
Yeah, because if we win that one, we're in no matter what. And so, and there's still a chance even if we don't win these 2. It just depends on what the other teams do. Excuse me. But the other thing that volleyball's kind of hard to cheer for, to be quite honest. I find that a lot of people don't know what to say and what do I say?
I learned. So I covered the 1A, D1, and D2 tournaments this weekend. We had D1 here at LC, and we had D2 up at the high school.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, LCSC has 4 letters in it. But I learned most high schools just do their initials on every bump, set, and spike. And it was like Troy High School, who just dominated the D1 tournament.
Yeah.
That was what they did.
Right.
Every single point, every single time. So LC doesn't really work for that.
Yeah.
But just make noise every time, I guess. But
LC State. There you go.
There you go.
So it could be LC State.
Yeah, there you go. So just make noise.
Make noise. And honestly, I think it's easy for people to go, well, the team's losing, so it's hard for us to get into it. But if you watch the University of Nebraska volleyball in particular, best fan base in the entire nation, and I'm going to tell you for any sport, okay? They're one of very few volleyball programs in the nation making money, and they're profiting, right? And so, but there was a coach, I think it was back in the 90s, that taught the fan base how to cheer. When you're losing, that's when you rally and you get behind them, and you don't say, come on, get it together, be better, or whatever it is, right? Instead, you're just like, hey, you're good. We've got your back, and you clap, you cheer. It doesn't have to be specific, And so you were saying, like, man, what do you say in how do I call in a volleyball thing? And I'm like, I know volleyball. I'd still struggle with it. So I get it.
You just make noise.
Yeah.
And whatever you say, make it loud.
Just make it loud. Yeah. Loud and proud. All right, we're going to get a couple of quick questions in, and then we're going to some word association things. So really quick, if you could host a talk show, who would your first guest be?
Man, that's tough. Talk show.
Hard-hitting questions here on the R&R Sports.
Am I supposed to be quick?
Well, not yet.
None of this is quick. So
nothing's quick.
We got 20 minutes left of the show, so if we last 20 more minutes, we might have to hurry out the door because I gotta get to work.
Yeah. Gosh, can I pick a couple?
Sure.
Simon Sinek is the first person that comes to mind. Just the infinite mindset and just how to be a better leader in life. The second one would be Rich Davini, and he I think you'll see his name come up more in sports in the coming years. He wrote the Attributes book, and he was a Navy SEAL for a really long time. And he just the way he packages information. He was actually a guest on Simon Sinek podcast or webinar or something, and so that's where I found him. So one of those two.
Okay, I'm gonna do another one really quick. What is one important skill everyone should master?
One important skill everyone should master. Self-awareness, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So now we're going to get a little funny here. A couple of them. Which household chore do you hate doing the most?
So these are supposed to be the fast ones?
Well,
more funny, I guess.
Okay. All right. Gosh, I'm gone a lot. My wife picks up a lot of my slack. God bless her. The one that I hate the most would probably be weed whacking.
Yeah.
I mean, can anybody make a weed whacker that you don't have to hold in a weird angle
and constantly fill the line?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
constantly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So this one was brought up a few weeks ago.
Oh, we're bringing this back.
Yep. Well, I have to. This was brought up a few weeks ago. Are you a peanut butter and jelly fan?
Sure.
Okay. What is the percentage of peanut butter and jelly?
Half and half for sure.
That's what I am. The wife told me no. She was 70-30.
It's 60-60. You overload that thing, and
Yeah, I'm not interested in jelly falling on my shirt, and that's exactly what would happen.
Exactly.
With a 4-year-old, I think I make a bigger mess than she does.
Oh yes.
There you go. And you did mention a college favorite sports team. So do you have a favorite college team besides your LCSC volleyball, or do you or a professional team that you follow?
What I would say is I was a fan of what is Peterson down in Boise State when he was at Boise State. And
Doug
so,
Peterson, right?
huh?
Doug Peterson? Or which Peterson is that? Or Doug Peterson that just got fired from TCU. I get it mixed up.
I don't know why it's escaping me right now, and I'm kind of embarrassed about that. But so because there's Coach Pete, that's what I know him by. So it's like, or not know him per se, but I would be a fan of that mentality. Chris Peterson.
He went over, yeah, and he went over.
Doug Peterson was the old Eagles.
Yep.
So Chris Peterson, you could just tell they didn't really. They went for it.
Right.
They weren't risk adverse, and I just love that.
And you're from Twin Falls. So
I'm from Twin Falls, so there's a little bit of a connection.
Yeah.
I also watched the 07 Tostitos Fiesta Bowl.
Which made our playlist one of the greatest playlists.
Yeah. I was sitting on the couch going, it's over. It's over. And I mean, when you watch something like that, it's just, to me, it's just change. You believe you can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. I'm going to let Randy throw out some player names for you.
All right, so let's do some word association with some of these players. Again, all of them obviously are listening, so it's very important.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's go with Lexi.
Can't wait to hear this one.
Feisty. Do I need to go beyond that?
No,
that's
good.
I would think we're going to get that from a lot of them. So, Jess Ruffing.
What's cerebral?
I can see that. Jess is one of those that I always, without even like really looking up, just seeing where they're standing for their serve, I always know when it's Jess.
Yeah.
Because she's the only one that has like no movement at all. She just stands there, get it over, we're going to move on.
Yeah.
Troy Edwards.
What? I mean, shy. Shy. I mean, she's very introverted, and so shy.
Cassidy Nelson.
Wild, I guess. Yeah.
How about her roommate, Kenzie Clark?
Oh man, she's goofy for sure.
She's
one of them that I always laugh at when it's during timeouts. She gets into trouble.
She's the one that always comes over to the table. Can we change the music? Can we and I'm like, I don't play the music. And here we go.
Her those two grew up together, and so when they get together, it's just like, it's a comedy routine, is really what it is.
Jada Wims.
I want to use kind of the word mysterious. A lot of people. She's very quiet, and so a lot of people aren't like, what is she thinking about? And then when she speaks her mind and she talks, everybody just goes, I mean, she's just kind of jaw-dropping, like, wow, that's incredible. And she's a English major, and she wants to publish poetry and some writing and stuff like that. So
we had her on the show a few weeks ago. Very, very intelligent.
Yes,
for sure. And then the last one, we do it to everybody, but Shaun Pohlman.
Crazy. Yeah. No. I'd say, holistic, or maybe, since I've already said that, growth mindset, like, I just think that we can always, what is it? The word Kaizen, I think it means to never stop improving. Japanese word for never stop improving or something along those lines. So just, it's my mentality. We can always be better. And sometimes it's annoying to people, our players, right? Because like, but is anything ever good enough? It's like, well, I mean, technically we can always get better. So is that, that's kind of a loaded question, right?
But, exactly.
Well, Shaun, it has been an absolute pleasure. This has been so much fun. Definitely come check out LCSC Volleyball, both Friday at 7 p.m. and Saturday at 5 p.m. Like Shaun said, come see history. Come see the Warriors make their first Cascade Conference tournament, hopefully. And then come to senior night on Saturday, as with everyone I just mentioned. Robert will be reading 3.5 pages of notes. I'm sure they've been writing constantly all week for that. So
tell them to be nice to me.
There's only 3. So it's, as far as the senior night.
Yeah.
There's only 3.
Yeah, because
we
have a bunch of
quick
seniors, but with all the COVID
tell them
stuff,
to be nice to me, though. They have to be nice to me.
Okay. All right. I'll try.
No big words.
I think it's favorite memory and who's escorting them, and then some stats, I think. So
that'll be nice. That'll be easy. So.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty easy. Yeah. So
they need to go back and rewrite it then.
I do appreciate the I don't want to call it the attention because it sounds like like
no,
look at me.
That's honestly what we're here for.
That
was our goal years ago. Was like, as somebody that played tennis in high school and in high school got very, very jealous of. I mean, we talked football. Our whole first hour ended up being the NFL, but we want to bring that attention to volleyball, cross country,
all about
all of the sports. We'll have tennis once it gets started. Just all the sports out there, and again, being able to do play-by-play this year, I've starting to really enjoy the sport a lot more than I was expecting. And again, I ended up watching a bunch of high school volleyball this weekend and enjoyed all of it, even though it was a 12-hour day both days, and I was tired afterwards. But so I mean, I'm very, very blessed to just be a part of it. So yes, call it attention. We'll give it. We want to give you this.
And that's the thing with you and I calling so many games, football, baseball, over the last so many years, we get to know these kids and we get to deal with them. And I haven't shared with the girls yet, but I've gotten involved with different players. Trayvon Allen, I've got his picture up on the wall. I've got pictures of Luke Falk, and we had signing night here not too long ago. I haven't told the girls yet, but I've already got it in my classroom. I already have them right there above, next to Luke Falk, and right next to Trayvon Allen. So I mean,
you got to take a picture and show them the next, on Friday.
Goes and gets his sign. Doesn't grab one for me while I'm.
I got two. They're both in the same one. So
I'm busy still announcing stuff, waiting for Shaun to come over to talk to me because all the girls are busy.
Yeah. But I mean, it's the connections, and that's for me for coaching and doing what it's all about connection and there. So So it has been a pleasure tonight, Shaun, and thank you very much for coming in. And again, come down and see Shaun Pohlman and the LC volleyball girls as they take on Corbin on Saturday, Bushnell on Friday. It's senior night, so come down and see those guys.
Thank you, Shaun.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, so quick update on the Braves game. It is all Braves in this one, 7-0 as they go into the bottom of the seventh.
And also, it is final. I should have brought it up while we're talking because there's so LC stuff. But the Warrior women basketball team does get their first victory of the year. They went 81-77. I knew Shaun could talk, and I knew this interview was going to go long. Dude's fantastic. It's so much fun. And we definitely went long. So let's jam-packed.
Let's get our draft.
The other 45 minutes in 10 minutes.
Yeah, we can do it.
Let's do college pick 'em real quick. I had, of course, I do notes, and then I don't have time for them. But Wednesday night, Northern Illinois at Kent State. Give me Northern Illinois. They've won 10 straight.
I'm taking Kent State just because they're favored. I mean, it's time for them to win.
Kent State -3.5. There you go. Virginia Tech -3.5 at Boston College. Give me Virginia Tech.
I'm going to take Tech also. They need to get off the losing schneid.
Army at Air Force. Air Force giving up 3 points. Give me Air Force. Army's defense is garbage.
It is a garbage, but I love that running game for Army, and it's always a big game. So give me Army.
Interesting game. LSU at number 3, Alabama. Well, technically number 2, Alabama now. Alabama is a 28.5 point favorite. I'm going to take the points. Give me Alabama. I'll give them up. Give up the points and take Alabama.
I'm feeling sympathetic for Ogeron. I know he's almost done. Families from LSU, fans of LSU. Give me LSU because I don't think Bama's going to cover the points.
And then Boise State at number 25, Fresno State. Fresno State giving up 5.5. Give me Fresno State.
Yeah, exactly. They've held on against Boise State for the last few years, so give me them.
All right, let's get into our draft. And we got like 5 minutes for this, but we will make it work. We'll have some fun with it as I try to scroll down.
I know, trying to play catch up.
Got it messed up. All right. So last week we did the best MLB announcer call, which was so much fun. And thank you again to
Dave Walk
for doing that, doing the video that you can see on the R&R Sports Report Facebook and YouTube pages. This week it was my turn to pick. And with Arizona losing on Thursday, I decided, since we don't have an undefeated team left in the NFL, I was looking for the most impressive undefeated records. So that's undefeated season or a player that was undefeated throughout their career. And then Robert broke the rules.
I didn't break the rules. I bent them just a little bit.
Eric, you missed our rant before the 45-minute Shaun Pohlman interview. College football was a complete rip. But it was just there for ratings and controversy.
exactly.
But all right, Robert, it was my turn to pick, so you get the first choice.
I'm going to go, and I'm going to keep it really short. Give me the 94-95 Lady Yukon Huskies.
Yeah, they go one of 37.
Yeah, they go 35-0. That it's the first championship for Yukon. Rebecca Lobo, huge name, and probably one of the biggest names ever to play college basketball.
And the reason why I've already won this draft is, again, Yukon did it 73 different times, so it's not that special.
Right. Well,
that's but my first pick, because it's only happened once.
Oh my God!
The only undefeated season. We hear it all the time. They've already cracked the champagne, thanks to the Green Bay Packers beating Arizona at 1972 Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm so tired of listening to that.
Of course, but it is a very, very impressive undefeated record because it's the only time it's ever happened.
So I'm going to take and go for my second one of another college team. Give me the 63-64 John Wooden UCLA Bruins. That was his first championship in his 16th year. They go 30-0, and that was the first time you started seeing the zone really happening in basketball.
It is still crazy that we haven't seen it since the 80s for a college team to go all the way undefeated. Of course, Gonzaga
was close.
Was one game away, but
stupid Baylor
completely crushed them in that game. All right, my second pick, I'm going to go individual, and it was really tough between Rocky Marciano and Floyd Mayweather. Obviously, I mean, I never watched Rocky Marciano box. I'm not old enough, but I guarantee you his personality was better than Floyd Mayweather.
Right.
But Floyd Mayweather, 50-0, no draws, and he did it in so many different weight classes. Now, yes, you could say his last 4 or 5 are pretty cheap. I mean, he has a Conor McGregor match in there that technically counts. But you look at the beginning of his career and as he built up and again, changing all the weight classes like he did. Like the man or not, like respect him or not, you have to respect what he did in that ring. And yes, it wasn't flash and he wasn't knocking people out, but he understood why boxing is called the sweet science.
Exactly.
And he figured it out. And he beat the Big Show at WrestleMania. So 51-0, Mr. Floyd Mayweather. 51. All right, how about your third?
All right, so this is where I'm going to get ripped at.
Yep.
And I don't see the ripping coming because it shouldn't happen. But I'm going to give me Tiger Woods, the 2001, and the Tiger Slam. He wins the 4 big majors, most of them by big margins. That's over great. 5 strokes. So he wins the first 4 majors.
So he wasn't undefeated in the majors in a season.
Well, he gets the 4 big majors.
Straight.
Listen, it was on the link you sent me, and in the
which said that nobody has done it, but he was the closest.
Give me Tiger Woods. I'm taking the Tiger Slam. You're not taking it away.
It's fine. You still lose.
I win. I have 2 big basketball, and all you have is the Dolphins.
And I got Floyd Mayweather, who's undefeated his whole life. And then I'm going to win with this one because this was the reason why I ended up picking it. Because I started, again, because we knew the 72 Dolphins was going to have to make this list. And then I was looking at other undefeated records. This one was fun to me, and it just was even better that he was a Yankee. How about 1929 Tom Zachary? You ever heard of him?
Nope.
Me neither.
Nope.
He has the most wins without a loss in MLB history. The man went 12-0 back in 1929 with a 2.48 ERA. The best part, it was with the Yankees, where he joined after 2 years before when he was pitching for the St. Louis Browns. He gave up Babe Ruth's 60th home run.
Crazy.
There you go. He made the record books twice.
You notice Eric has already chimed in. He says, what about Cale Sanders in college? 159. Okay.
That's a good one. And that was all in his career, and that's fantastic, unlike what Tiger Woods did.
No, listen. Nope.
God, we're so out of time. What the heck has happened? Thank you, Shaun.
We're down to just basically trivia. Carson Bantams, really quick. Yes. The soccer team won theirs. They're playing Thursday for the championship for districts. They beat Pullman yesterday, so go Bantams on Thursday.
And sports that don't get enough airtime, you get 30 seconds here. Sorry, that's what happens. Alex Bowman wins Martinsville. Danny Hamlin had issues with Bowman. I don't know if you've seen that clip.
Nope, not yet.
You need to look it up. It's hilarious. Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr. at Phoenix. Who wins the championship?
You went Larson.
Yes.
I am going to be the rebel. You took this guy on road courses. Give me Chase Elliott, just to be different.
Chase Elliott won it last year. I would love for my boy Elliott to win it again. It should only be Larson.
Exactly.
Larson's won the most wins, but again, the playoffs are stupid for NASCAR. And as far as hockey goes, the Kraken 3-6-1 on the year. Arizona 0-8-1 to start the year, but then on the other flip side, fantastically, Florida 8-0-1, and Carolina 8-0-0. Which one of those loses first?
God, I don't know.
I don't even know if either of them lost today.
I don't know if either of them won.
But who loses first?
Florida.
Okay. All right. No, this week in sports history.
Nope.
Give me the trivia.
The trivia question goes back to my Tiger Slam. In the Tiger Slam, one man was runner-up to Tiger in 2 events. Who was it?
Mike Weir.
No. Ernie Wells in the 2000 Open and 2000. Yeah. But he kind of crushed him in both games. As in the 2000 U.S. Open, Tiger was 15 strokes better than everybody. He was the only one under par.
Neither of those two teams played today, but the Coyotes did lose today, so they're now 9-1. So there you go. We jam-packed 45 minutes of our scheduled show in 10 minutes because, again, Shaun Pohlman did a fantastic interview. I could have listened to him all day. There were still other notes that we hadn't even got to. So we're going to have to
means we'll get him back on.
Get Shaun back on. He's fantastic. I love his mindset with the way he looks at things. So that was really good. If you missed that interview, definitely go check that out. It's a long one, but it's a good one. And definitely check out LCSC Volleyball Friday and Saturday as they try to make the postseason. Men's basketball is tomorrow against Northwest Indian College. Cross country has their Cascade Championships on Friday. The women are back on the court next week against Idaho. So much is going on. We have week 9 of the NFL.
We didn't even talk your favorite subject, the college bowls.
Give it.
No.
Give it real quick.
Because I know what you're going to do with it. That's
all right on the microphone. That's going to do it for us. I don't know what Eric is talking about with this. What is that? Bull Ray? Who's Mashiba? I don't know what that is. Eric has lost me at the end of the show. But we made it. We made it through a show. I don't even know what number this is. What show are we on? 57. We made it through 57 of these. We're in November.
This is crazy.
Thanksgiving is soon, sir.
It is. We'll even talk about that here pretty soon, too.
Yes, but maybe that'll be on our draft here soon.
Exactly.
All right, but that is it for me. But for now, that's Robert. I'm Randy. Thank you, Shaun Pohlman, once again for being on the show. But for now, we are